It was about 3 years ago that the whole world got turned upside down. Best I can tell, the year is 2026. The New World Order agenda has been fully implemented all around the world. There are a few of us that hid away in the woods from the 15-minute cities and the pods and the Neuralink and all the other things, the CBDC, all the other things that they pushed down the Americans' throats right at the last minute. I'll never forget that day. I was out here on my property, minding my own business. I think I was actually doing some woodworking, cutting down some cedar trees and things like that, and having a great day, when suddenly the emergency alert system was activated on my cell phone. And it told everyone, I guess everyone got this message, it told everyone to go to their homes, stay inside, that we were under attack. They used the threat of the Chinese and the Russians and the World War III and everything that we were on the cusp of back then. They used that to scare people to go home and stay inside their homes. What many of those people didn't realize was that they were walking right into the government's trap. It had been planned all along that that's how they were going to do it. They were going to round people up right out of their homes and take them to what they called a safe location. As it turns out, many of those people were rounded up and taken into these smart cities, smart grids, where essentially they're prisoners now in that city. They have monitoring devices embedded into their skin. I don't know exactly where. Some said it was in the forehead. Some said it was in the back of the neck along the spinal column. I don't really know. I didn't participate in that event, but a large amount of the American people willingly signed up to be hooked up and connected to the Neuralink and to live in a 15-minute smart city where essentially they live in the Matrix, a prison built for your mind. And these people, they live in virtual reality 99% of the time and only unplug and disconnect when they need to do things like go to the bathroom and things like that. But I've heard that they're working on a plan for that as well, to where you'll never have to disconnect from the internet or from the Neuralink. I haven't spoken to another human being in 3 years. It's very unnerving. Oftentimes I talk to myself and to my dog. Luckily my dog was out here with me when everything went sideways. I stayed here. I already had my AR and my shotgun and my 9mm with me because I was doing a little target practice that day. Thank God for that. One of the things that I thought was going to be a huge issue was my lack of supplies when I first went into this deal, that I didn't have much. I had like basically a little bit of a dinner that I had brought for myself when I was doing that woodworking all those years ago, and obviously that didn't last more than a day. And so for several days I starved, not knowing what to do. I was living off of wild edibles, eating, morel mushrooms and prickly pear cactus and cattails, and I got a squirrel at one point. I missed a rabbit. I saw a wild rabbit, but I missed that, so I didn't get that meal. But anyway, what I quickly discovered as I went out and expanded my search perimeter is that I am completely alone out here and isolated. All the neighbors are gone. I guess everyone was either rounded up and taken into these smart cities, or the other option was the re-education camps. Again, I haven't talked to anyone, but I could imagine that the re-education camps are probably not the place you want to be. Of course, you're a prisoner either way. Once you go and you get into their government van or however it went down, and you put on their tracking monitor system and hook up to the Neuralink, they know every single thing about you. They know whenever you have a hit of adrenaline. They can tell and measure your heart rate. They can measure your breathing. They know if you've slept good the night before or if you slept badly or whatever. It's so invasive and intrusive that I couldn't believe that people signed up for it. And before I lost complete contact with everyone else in the civilization, I got a message from my wife. she was able to send me a message. The phones were still working for a little while after that, so she got a hold of me and said that there were government agents all up and down our street and to not come there. So I didn't go there. I stayed here out in the woods. And she told me that the Agenda 21 2030 plan had been announced on the news, and that the only way to save humanity was to embrace the Agenda 21 2030 plan and rewild the United States of America. So technically, I'm a fugitive, I'm an outlaw, I'm living out here in no man's land now, no one's around. But the good news on the supply front is all my neighbors are gone, and they left everything behind. So every time I go and explore a new property that I've never been to before, I'm finding tons of supplies, whether that be ammunition, food, water, all the things that I need, clothing, things like that. Even the camo that I'm currently wearing, I found in one of my neighbor's properties. Because again, I wasn't planning to go to war that day when everything went sideways. So that's where we find ourselves. I stay in the woods as much as possible, under the canopy cover of the trees. And the reason why is because although I haven't seen very many people since this whole thing went down, I have seen a lot of drone activity. And I also am aware that they still have satellite capability. So I try to stay under the canopy of the trees as much as possible. I rarely ever go out into the open anymore because, again, that's a dead giveaway, and they will be able to see you either via satellite or drones. I have taken down a couple of drones with my AR, believe it or not. I would have rather had my shotgun at that point, but I didn't. I had my AR on me, and it's sighted in well enough that if you hit that drone anywhere with the AR, it's going to take it down. And I went over and tried to recover any of the wreckage that I could find when I took the drone down. And sure enough, on the side of it, bigger than Dallas, it said UN. And I wanted to tell you one other thing that really scared me, shook me to my core. I was out here and suddenly I started hearing voices out in the distance. And I looked up over the hill, and I was, in a prone position behind a bunch of trees and bushes and stuff, so they couldn't see me. But I looked up over the hill and I saw a whole bunch of blue helmets, UN troops, right here in the United States of America. So my thinking is they're using these UN troops to round up the scragglers like myself that are out in the countryside. They're probably using a combination of satellites, drones, and actually sending in boots on the ground. And when they're sending those in, they're UN troops. And let me tell you, a lot of those guys look like they were Chinese. So that is my story, and that's where we find ourselves today, hiding out. Thankfully, I had made this teepee here before everything went sideways and the New World Order took over everything. And I'm able to hide from the drones and the satellites in this teepee and get myself some sleep. So far, no one's come over here and found it or anything. And again, I haven't seen any human being other than those UN soldiers. That's the only people I've seen in the last 3 years. So I have no idea where my wife is. I assume she's in a re-education camp because I know my wife would not sign up for the Neuralink. Now, one thing she did tell me before we got cut off on the phone conversation, she told me that she saw on the news where they were offering people large amounts of money to come in and voluntarily install the Neuralink and live in the new situation in the 15-minute city. So many of these people were made into instant millionaires simply by signing up and agreeing to give up their rights. And I always wondered how it was going to go down. Well, that was it. They used people's greed against them. And so apparently there's a lot of people that just took the money, and of course it wasn't cash money, it was this new CBDC money. So it's digital money. They can take it away from you as quickly as they gave it to you because it's all just out there in the ether. So anyway, those people, apparently hundreds of millions of people, sold their liberty to the highest bidder, the CBDC digital currency. Again, it's not even real, and I can't believe that people would be willing to do that, but they were. Just unbelievable times. So this is where we find ourselves. The daily struggle to get supplies. And it's not that the supplies are hard to come by, it's just that it's difficult for me to leave this property without being spotted, or, you know, without going out into open fields and things like that. So luckily I'm surrounded by woods here. I'm surrounded by, you know, wild edibles and other things like that that will keep me alive. I do have my defensive weapons here, my AR, my 590 shotgun, and my Glock 17. And I do have enough ammo. I don't want to say plenty, but I have enough ammo to at least protect myself from the UN people that are trying to come and put me in a concentration camp, or I'm sorry, re-education camp as they call it. You know, I'd really love for my wife to be here. That was the plan. She was supposed to figure out a way to get out here and meet me here. But again, it's been 3 years since I've heard her voice, so I have no idea what happened. If she got rounded up, I assume she did. I assume she got rounded up and she's probably in one of the re-education camps, because my wife, it was like me, she wasn't down for that stuff. She was all into liberty and freedom and individual rights. Well, the UN and the New World Order is not into that stuff, and they've made it their mission to destroy anyone who has our kind of thinking. So anyway, that's where we find ourselves today. Never a dull moment. I'm always moving around. I never stay in the same place more than a day or two, because I don't want them to be able to triangulate me based on noises or sounds or satellite imagery or drone footage or whatever, however they're doing it. All I know is, as far as I can tell, I'm the last person in the wild zone, I guess we'll call it, the place they're trying to rewild, what I would call the woods of the United States of America. So I just can't believe how fast everything fell apart.